Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ari in the Air. Welcome back to the channel. Stoked you're here. Today, pretty heavy with my whole beloved state being on fire. 500,000 people displaced out of their homes through evacuations. Entire towns flattened. And I wrote something this morning about this, and I figured that today I could just read it to you here, and then maybe if there's something else I want to add to that, I might add it at the end. And then I'll send you on your way. Okay? So without further ado, here we go.
See ya. See ya.
Before dawn, I woke up with a scratch in my throat and a smell in my nose. The window in the living room was open, and I instantly knew that was a mistake. The West is ablaze, and the smoke follows all of us. I've lived in Oregon for all of my life. August and September are the months of the red sun, the one you can look right at, even midday. But this year, the year of what the fuck, the year where we hear the ecology louder than we ever have. The year where we reap what we sow. This year, it has a different taste to the smoke. This year, it tastes like nuanced confusion. You see, the forest is beautiful. Most of us agree. Yet for a long time, we've been clear-cutting it into the form of paychecks. This is a pole on a spectrum that we have recognized to be bad, a heavy-handed, devastating form of resource extraction. Luckily, environmentalism came in a few decades ago, and we started protecting these beautiful places by closing them to logging, to access, and to exploit. But now we're on the far side of that pole of inaction. Let it be. Well, actually, we're beyond that pole, and we're in the territory of being a day late and $1 short, as these beautiful forests that we've left alone burn in such a torrential inferno that they take entire towns down with them. We're in a polarized pendulum of decision-making. Between our paternal instinct to control and our maternal instinct to nurture and to let live, if we go all with yin, we'll chop down the forests in a matter of decades. If we go all yang, we could lose all the forests and the towns inside of them in a matter of weeks. Either way, we end up stuck between a rock and a hard place because there's no more trees to make soft, shady spots to lie down. This isn't about forestry, although it is a relevant and salient metaphor, and although we're currently inhaling forest mismanagement. This is about a deeper inquiry about making nuanced, difficult decisions that have ramifications that far outstretch our ability to clearly foresee them. It's about swinging around on a polarized pendulum of opinion, as opposed to aiming for the bullseye of wisdom. Some of the questions that come to mind are, how much of my own struggle should I address myself versus reaching out for support? What is the healthiest balance between my own comfort, security, uncertainty, and risk in my life? How much of your child's struggles should you solve for them? How much of a safe space should college campuses be? How much welfare should the government hand out? How much of the forest should we deliberately manage, and how much of it should we just leave alone? Here in Oregon, right now, within a 5-mile spread, we can observe the negative side effects of both approaches. We can walk through a clear cut and see utter devastation of an environment, slash piles, bulldozer tracks, mud, sawdust, the decimation of the habitat for thousands of animals. And not far away, we can look at a pristine forest with 300-foot-tall tornadoes of flame erupting from them. Entire communities literally burned flat. People dying in cars trying to escape. Their tires being melted right off of them. Let us take a moment to recognize and acknowledge and mourn the loss that comes in the wake of natural disaster and this natural disaster. A lot of fear and grief and pain burns across the West right now, and I feel it, and I'm sorry. Let's also recognize and acknowledge the pain and confusion that comes in these predicaments, in these places where we desperately need nuance and we don't have it. In these places, both real and subjective, where we are clinging to a pole or we are swinging wildly between them. In a moment of detachment from our perspectives, we can acknowledge just how painful this polarity of opinion really is. It's an obvious swing when you see the space of opinion between a logging family and a liberal conservationist one, between libtards and Trump supporters. It's even more painfully obvious in myself as I swing between externalizing my experience onto outside circumstances, essentially blaming the world for my problems, and internalizing them all as faults of my own. Swings are supposed to be fun. This one, not so much. Wu Wei, the middle path, the nuanced way, the examined life, the Tao, the Godhead, the truth, the light. Harmony, balance, symbiosis, homeostasis, nature, peace, acceptance, and love. This is the bullseye. But what do our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors look like to move towards the truth? The path of right action is so thin, it is a razor's edge, and it needs to be acknowledged as such. We tend to think of the right way as so obvious and trodden that it infuriates us to know that we're off the reasonable track. Sometimes I simplify it by saying that we need to live in accordance with reality, or we need to just cultivate more virtue. And although I deeply agree with these sentiments, they merely acknowledge that there is a razor's edge of right action. But to know where to place your foot on said razor or how to balance as you walk along it is as complex as reality itself. If we can have another moment of detachment as we mourn our own confusion, as we try so fucking hard to balance on this razor's edge of right action. It is so hard to know what is the right action in any given moment. Lately, I need these moments where I acknowledge my confusion and despair, and I forgive myself for thinking, feeling, and acting in ways that I just don't want to. This thing in me is the thing in us, the thing that has us swinging between letting the forest be the forest and watching our lives burn down from wrong action. From here, we can go a few places. We can be with what is, acknowledge that we're on our path and we can't get off of it if we tried, and that everything is unfolding in perfection, even with all the pain and despair and confusion. On the other hand, we can condemn the way things are. We can label them as bureaucratic fuck-ups and bemoan those who we see as responsible and errant. We can go into apathy, or into hypervigilance, or self-hatred, or any number of justifiable emotional states. We can fall off the razor's edge of right action into authoritarianism, control, and violence, or towards neglect, indecision, and blame. I guess my point is that this razor's edge of right action, this dance of enlightened existence, it is not choreographed. It has no playbook. It is alive, ever-changing, and it is different for each one of us. We all have our own capabilities, histories, proclivities, desires, and capacities. It is a game that runs on the rules of nature, not of our labeling minds. And if we see it as such, we might be led to the realization that we only have control over our own dance. If we see it as such, we might be led to realize that we can only focus on our own balance as we wobble along the razor's edge. This is the path towards enlightenment, to maturation, to development, to peace, and to healing. And man, do I need some peace and healing about now. We all do. This is essentially about our oversimplification of things and the reality of how nuanced and complex the world really is. Not to mention how complex it is for us as complex creatures and individuals to try to understand what our place in it all is and what is our best action right now. What is right action? How do I give my gift? This is a question we should all be asking ourselves. This is a question we should all be asking ourselves. There is a Sanskrit word, a concept called dharma. Your dharma is, in America, it's been miscategorized as essentially your career, your work. But your dharma is actually more like the path of right action that leads to the flourishment of mankind, that affords people well-being, health, happiness, and quality of life. We all have a choice to make here. We all have a process to undertake that is unfolding and unveiling to ourselves what our dharma is, what our purpose is, how we dance with this thing, what it looks like for us to balance along the razor's edge of right action. It is not something to take so seriously that you freeze. Like anything, it is play that unlocks your ability to do it joyously and effectively. So I encourage you to take it as such. To dance with the universe and yourself. I encourage you to lend yourself to the people that need it right now. There's 500,000 people displaced in Oregon alone, probably twice that in California. Not exactly sure how you do that, but if you want to put a comment in the comment section about how you think people can help, whether through donation, volunteering, offering their homes, any of that stuff, super appreciated. We're a very powerful community. And this is the time where paraglide pilots and adventurers alike have an incredible ability to make a stark and profound difference in the world by extending ourselves to our communities. So I encourage you so much to do that. Thank you so much for watching. More good stuff coming your way. See you soon.